The original homeland of the gypsies is India. Here, many have given up the travelling life to find wealth or acceptance in the big cities. They found the same poverty and discrimination that had dogged them for centuries and that drove them to find a better life elsewhere on their migrations. Some gypsies only travel as far as the city centres, where they try and make a few rupees by playing their tribal music. Today, as in the past, the authorities view gypsies with distrust and displeasure. Their arts are classed as begging. They're moved on as they have been for centuries, forced to find another place to rest until they're moved on again. From city to city in North India, whole gypsy families scrape a living off the streets. To escape such poverty and discrimination, the gypsies of India migrated in tribes over the past 10 centuries north into Afghanistan. Early this century, their caravans smuggled anything from drugs to guns, as they do today across the deserts of Afghanistan. They followed ancient trade routes, taking their music with them. As their migrations entered Persia and the Middle East, gypsy caravans became a welcome sight at local markets, bringing exotic music and magical tricks from distant lands. At every stop on the Romany trail, gypsies are classed as outsiders, so they keep to themselves with their own language and custom. Stick dancing and drumming were carried from these markets far into Europe with the gypsy caravans. Their migrations seem to have followed two main routes, one splitting off through the Holy Lands into Egypt and North Africa. The other continued through the Turkish Empire, remaining outsiders but absorbing the local life and religion of the districts they passed through. By the early 12th century, islands of Macedonia. We followed their trail into Eastern Europe, where some 5 million gypsies now live. In Yugoslavia, on the 6th of May each year, there's a gypsy festival. It starts at dawn. The Greek Orthodox Church in Skopje is where the gypsies begin their week of celebrations, though most families have been Muslim since they arrived here in the 14th century. At a Christian church in a communist country, Muslim gypsies are recalling their Hindu past from India. They're celebrating the festival of the god Indra. The pipes and drum have accompanied their acts of worship since they left North India. This simple ritual, with its purifying use of water, is bridging 1,000 years of travel. After a terrible earthquake, when the station clock stopped in Skopje, much of this capital city of Macedonian Yugoslavia was totally rebuilt. Though it houses the largest gypsy community to be found anywhere in Europe, they don't live with other Yugoslavs in this fine new city. Gypsies are found in the old part of town, where they run many of the family stores. The tinkers of the Kaldaresh tribe have been metal workers since they left India. Nearby are bear trainers of the Urzari tribe. In the suburb of Shuto Orezari, where most gypsies live, the May festival continues with the buying of sheep. It's usual to take the animal for a walk before you eat it. At the home of Emin Ramadan, one of the community leaders, this family festival is accompanied by Indian music. A 1,000 sheep are sacrificed this evening to bring the gypsies good luck. Emin Ramadan is a spokesman for the gypsies here, who want to be recognized in Yugoslavia as a national minority of Indian origin. This would give them the same rights and privileges as all other Yugoslav citizens. For that reason, they've rejected the name gypsy in favor of Rom, Rom or Romany being a tribal name of Indian origin. Emin is also choreographer of the state Romany dance troupe. On every street, costume and music recall the Indian past of the Romany people. This gypsy community is quite unlike the rest of Yugoslavian society. They've managed to preserve their own identity and Indian culture, even when it's frowned on by the state, like the public displays of Pelivani wrestling with oil. A different kind of struggle is presented by the local Romany drama troupe. Its director, Juro Yazarevsky, is telling a history of the gypsies of East Europe. Words can be censored, but not grunts. So they grunt and groan their way through a symbolic play about how one oppressive dictator, meaning Hitler, was replaced by another oppressive dictator, played by the man in red.
Our gypsy public loves to watch this kind of theater. It's something very real to them, this retelling of their past with its depiction of their music, their happiness, their hopes and tragedies. They can't remain indifferent to their past, and they love to join in this retelling of their history. The only means they ever have of knowing it is through such drama. So for them, it's the only way of learning their own history.
At home, Juro explains to his children about the family history. He describes how they've always been settled in this one district and how closely knit the community still is. No one marries a non-Romany here. The communist government insisted gypsies give up their traveling ways, so their photos reflect life in this one fixed community. For these people, life's been a mixed blessing since the war.
After the war, Stalin considered the time had come for a clash with Yugoslavia and prepared to use force. But the different minority groups within Yugoslavia were united behind Tito and were determined to retain the independence of their country under Tito's socialist regime. This unity had been symbolized even by the gypsies who had fought alongside the partisans to free Yugoslavia from the Hitler tyranny. Many gypsies had perished in concentration camps, but now in the post-war years, a new chance came to them, as to all other citizens of Yugoslavia, to unify against the new tyranny of Stalin's Russia.
In their modern school, Romany children are instructed in the virtues of the socialist system by their non-gypsy headmaster.
After the war with Germany, all Yugoslavian people got their freedom to build a new socialist Yugoslavia. Among them were the gypsies, who before that had no rights or freedoms in our country. Now, in our new socialist Yugoslavia, you gypsies can study, you can go to school, you can educate yourselves, so that tomorrow, when you grow up, you can help build your new socialist country.
But the truth about Romany life we found less reassuring. After the war, most gypsies grew up without education and with enormous popular prejudice against them and the areas they inhabited. Many still exist in the kind of squalor the authorities don't want publicized. Deprivation and unemployment remain very high. Earlier this century, East Europe's gypsies were mostly nomads. To make a living, they told fortunes and played music. Their tribal life had changed little since they'd left India, generations before. But in East Europe after the war, these nomads were seen as a threat to socialism. Gypsies were compelled to move on or settle down to fixed housing in selected areas. Some stayed, others went. They followed the Romany trail that had led their ancestors across East Europe, from Yugoslavia through Romania and into Hungary. Sometimes this social integration has succeeded, though at a cost. In Budapest, the capital of Hungary, Europe's best-known gypsies can be found as professional entertainers in expensive restaurants. They're the most integrated of all Hungary's 500,000 gypsies. Sándor Lakatos is Hungary's most famous professional, who works the hours fixed by his local union. Gypsies have a public and private side to their music, and this is gypsy music at its most public. In fact, it's Hungarian folk tunes, carefully tailored to meet the demands of its non-gypsy audience. Over the years, professional restaurant performers gave up the gypsy life and language to become acceptable Hungarian citizens. In the state-controlled Raiko School of Music, children are still trained to become restaurant performers. Their gypsy teacher explains the tricks of the trade.
Mondom, hogy ez basszust vegy, akkor nem menjél máshova. Még egyszer. Tovább, innen. Bátran, bátran csinál, tessék! Már mutattam! Úgy, mint az előbb. Érted velem? Ez a tempó, még egyszer. D, D, G, F, E, E, F. Mindenki tudja, hogy jó van, de gyerünk meg mindenki.
Meniet Lakatos is Hungary's leading gypsy teacher and writer.
Usually, it is extremely important for minority groups to preserve their own culture. For the gypsies of Hungary, despite official attempts at integration, their own inner culture remains very strong. And it is due to this strength that these people have been able to remain gypsy through the centuries. At first, people tried to destroy our culture, regarding us as outsiders. But despite popular prejudice, gypsies want to integrate.
At an infant school in Hodas, in Hungarian Transylvania, gypsy children are learning how to speak Hungarian. They're very different from the Budapest children. Their parents are mostly poor and illiterate, and the children still speak Romany at home.
Gyerekek, tetszett a dal? Rézműves Rita, jöjjön ki, énekelje már el ezt a szép új dalt. Próbáljuk meg. Tudod cigányul, mama? Tudod? Na, majd Robi, majd te is gyere. Gyere, segíts neki, Robika, jó? Csak Rita, kezdj előbb, jó? Egy testvérek vagytok, így is, hát jól. Tedd át a kis kezed. Mama, drágó, mama.
Their teachers are gypsy too.
Olyan okosak vagytok.
Parents who collect their children from the nursery are actually paid small sums by the Hungarian government to encourage them to send their children to school.
Andrejám, jöttek érted? Menjél, légy szíves. Kérd el az uzsonnát. Tibikém, jöttek érted? Menjél, itt van apuka. Kérd el az uzsonnát, és mehetsz haza.
The youngest son of the Rostas family is collected by his father Tibor and grandfather Ferenc before going to church. Wherever they've settled, gypsies have absorbed other people's customs. So when we found these people visiting a Catholic church in a communist country, we weren't totally surprised. But what makes it unique is that the entire service is in the Romany language for the gypsies. It's the only such church in the world. The gypsies use this service to recall in their own minds a faith and history far removed from the Catholic ritual. The Hungarian priest is a sort of missionary in his own country. This Sunday, the Rostas family is going to celebrate the birthday of Ferenc, head of the clan. At home, they're preparing the birthday meal. Inside the Rostas home, we found the original gypsy music of Central Europe. It's nothing like what you hear in a city restaurant. This is gypsy music at its most private. Most gypsy families, like the Rostas, can't afford meat with their meals. But for this special occasion, the whole clan has clubbed together to buy some chicken. No birthday celebration is complete without original gypsy dancing. The art of stick dancing came with the gypsies from Asia centuries ago. It's died out almost everywhere, but the Rostas family have preserved it as a link with their past. Idyllic as this life appears, we found the reality rather different. To find any kind of work, gypsies have to travel every weekend on a special black train. That's a train for gypsies only. There's no work for them at home in the village, and so they're forced to take the black train to Budapest. It's a 7-hour ride every week to look for work.
We are often called the guest workers of Hungary, having to travel every weekend from the countryside into the city and then back again the next weekend. My family would love me to work in the village at home, but I have to go to Budapest as there's no work to be found here and I can't keep my family. So I travel to the capital to earn money. I first came to Budapest 10 years ago, and it was hard leaving my family behind. But I got used to it after a while. Workers, like gypsies who aren't educated, do manual labor, earning 4 or 5 pounds a week if they're lucky.
As gypsies earn so little, they have to live in hostels, which belong to the very building companies they work for. In the evenings, they hold their own private parties. Gypsies like Tibor Rostas are disliked by most Hungarians, who look on them as undesirables, even though these gypsies build the very houses most Hungarians live in, as well as their own hostels. At the hostel parties, gypsy friends get a chance to display their amateur talents.
The gypsies are probably the only people left in Europe with a folklore that is still living and growing today. This means that their songs, dances and traditions aren't just for some sort of stage presentation, but are the means of describing their everyday lives. Let me give you an example. The husband of an old gypsy woman had been sent to prison, but just a few days before his release, the old lady suddenly burst into rhyme like this: God give me that day and liberate the poor prisoner, liberate the prisoner from captivity and myself from sadness.
The only travelling left to Hungarian gypsies is as guest workers in their own country. But it's as migrant workers that most gypsies travel today into the industrial centres of Western Europe. The Romany trail now leads to where money can be made. like the giant industries in Düsseldorf, West Germany, which gypsies live beneath and beside.
We came to Germany because there was no work for us at home. It was because we couldn't get enough education in our home countries that we had to leave to find work. So gypsies come from Turkey and Greece and Yugoslavia. Because the Germans don't care about your education. They just want people who need work. The difference is that here we lead a better life and have a better chance of owning our own home. So we can give our children a better start here in West Germany. There are tens of thousands of gypsy workers in Germany doing semi-skilled or unskilled work that Germans don't want to do. Anything from tram driving to road building. But there's a lot of discrimination. You can't get a job at all if they know you're a gypsy. So the gypsy workers pretend to be Turkish or Albanian or Serbian, anything to stop your boss finding out you're a gypsy. We even pretend to speak other people's languages because if the boss discovers you're a gypsy, you'll be out of a job by the next morning.
Amadov Jelajidin and his wife work together in a Düsseldorf printers. They earn less than a German for the same work, but it's far more than they'd ever get back home in Yugoslavia. The family lives in a two-room garret flat because they're saving.
We came to work here because it is not easy to find a job in Yugoslavia. We came to work and earn money.
We have problems with the children. When they go to school here, they must learn German as well as Yugoslavian. And afterwards, they have to stay alone at home for hours or spend all day in the kindergarten until we can pick them up when we've finished work. It's very hard on them.
But at least in Germany, we can make a living. By working non-stop from early morning till night, we've saved enough to build a house back home for when we have to leave here. It's the reward for 12 hours work every day by both of us.
This family, like other migrant gypsy workers, brought its music to Germany. They display it in a Düsseldorf town hall. The music of the migrant Yugoslavian gypsies is quite different from what the resident German gypsies play. The German gypsies have learned to give their public what it wants, a sort of jazz called Sinti music. It owes much to Django Reinhardt, who was the first great gypsy jazz musician, and it's played for money. This group is called Swing Gypsy Rose. Its founder changed his name from the gypsy Krone to the Jewish Rosenberg. With a gypsy name, he'd been out of work like many other German gypsies. But with his new Jewish name, everybody wanted to employ him. When it comes to gypsies, he's found the German conscience to be very selective. Most German gypsies choose to live outside the cities, more secure in their own company. 500,000 gypsies were exterminated in the Second World War in German concentration camps. Rosenberg, with his Polish gypsy friend Rudko, plays here a very different kind of private music. From some survivors of Auschwitz, he learned a song the gypsies sang in the camps. He sings it in the original Romany words, as a reminder to his own and other people of the past. Rudko and Rosenberg believe they can fight, with their music, the discrimination German gypsies still face.
I'm not allowed to work here for myself. I have a, how they call it in Germany, a Fremdenpass. It means that when I want to travel out of Germany, I have to take a visa. I need a visa for this. Everybody likes the gypsy music, but nobody likes the gypsies. And we tried not only to show the music, but to show our life and our problems.
Weil meine Augen dunkel sind und weil mein Haar nicht ist wie deins, verfolgst du mich seit der Geburt jetzt schon, obwohl ich doch so lang wie du hier wohn. Wie lange soll's so weitergehen? Bringen wir den Kreislauf nicht zum Stehen, werden wir am Ende untergehen. Schon in der Schule fängt es an. Als Zigeuner bist du immer schlechter dran. Da giltst du schon von vornherein als ein dummes, faules Schwein. Ein Zigeuner muss so sein. Weil meine Augen dunkel sind und weil mein Haar nicht ist wie deins, verfolgst du mich seit der Geburt jetzt schon, obwohl ich doch so lang wie du hier wohn. Wie lange soll's so weitergehen? Bringen wir den Kreislauf nicht zum Stehen, werden wir am Ende untergehen. Sag, wohin sollen wir denn gehen? Verflucht nochmal, kann uns denn keiner mehr verstehen. Warum sind wir der letzte Dreck? Warum schickt man uns immer weg? Warum sollen wir die Dummen sein?
To try and begin to settle some of the problems that gypsies face in every society, and to try and persuade the German government in particular to pay the same reparations to gypsies as they did to the Jews, a World Gypsy Congress was organized in Germany for gypsies of every nationality. The Congress stressed the unity of language and culture of gypsies everywhere.
Wherever we go, every nation should be our country. We must not think that, well, this is not my country. For a Baha'i, wherever we are, that is my country.
Für die Bahai, wo immer wir sind, wo wir immer wir uns gerade aufhalten, ist das unser Land.
The Congress called for the name Gypsy to be replaced by the word Roma, to recall the Indian birthright of all the Romany peoples, and to give them at last a real historic identity.
Generally speaking, you can say out of North Indian, and even Punjabis who arrive in England today are part of that same movement. Well, this may sound, quite a strange thing to say. But, for instance, at the first World Romany Congress in London, when the East European Roma came for the first time, every time they saw a Pakistani family, or there's, Roma, like this, automatically they assumed that they were Roma. And in a sense they are,
So Indian dancers display to all the delegates of the World Romany Congress the origins of their music and dance. Dancing together, the delegates of some 10 million gypsies around the world symbolize the newly found unity of the Romany people after 1,000 years of wandering.